Hi guys, I just thought I'll show you these magazines I've been grabbing at the news agency. They come with some stamps, and dies. They're usually between $15 and $20, so not too expensive, and sometimes you can get a lot for that with the stamps. Today I'm going to use these layered rose and leaves dies to make some really cute cards. I used my scrap paper to cut out the flowers and leaves with my C6. This did take a while, so I only just showed you a little bit. Once they're all cut out, I just sorted them into their piles and separated them from all the scrap and got them ready to be glued. I used a Tombow liquid glue today to put them all together. I only glued one layer at a time just so they would sort of dry a bit and set before putting the next layer on. I think these roses are so cute, and roses are one of my favourite flowers. I like these die cuts as it, used up some of the scrap paper. I'm just using a poker for my silhouette to just make sure that they're nice and straight with the outline of the rose. Now they're all ready. I'll let them dry while I cut out my card and do the background. So I actually started by using this cream coloured card, and it's a 6x5, I think 5x5 inch card I cut out. But you see later I do change my mind of what I was going to do. With all the cream, I just cut out the last layer of the rose for the background. I glued it all down with Mod Podge, and this is a gloss, so it gave a nice shine to the finished product for the background. I had glued down on my roses and still had a bit of a spare spot, so I just cut off the excess that was hanging over the edge and filled in those spots with the cut off bits, which I think worked out great. So I let it all dry before I cut it into a panel, cut off the back piece of the card, and cut off the rest of the overhanging roses. And I cut a card out of pink cardstock for the card. So I used a thin dimensional tape on the back to stick it down onto the card. I always use more than probably what I should, but can never be too cautious. Now figure out where I'm going to place my roses and leaves and where I think I might put my sentiment. The first rose I just stuck down with double-sided tape. And the second rose I stuck down with a bit of dimensional tape to so it overlapped nicely. I didn't end up using the third rose, but I do have a little spot where I put all my extra bits and pieces that I will use on another card or project in the future. For the sentiment, I used one from the stamp set from the other magazine and the same colour pink as the card to match in. And this stamp positioner I grabbed from Spotlight. I did stamp it a couple of times to get a nice stamp even. I'm not very good at stamping, so trim down the panel to fit nicely on the card around with the roses. So once it's stuck down, I just cut off that little excess that was hanging over. We're all done for card 1. Card 2, I used an embossing plate and a background die that I've had for a bit to give a pretty cool embossed background. This is a white on white card, and I think this was 4 inches by 6 inches. So I trimmed it all down, and I ended up trimming the card down to match that panel as well. I'd cut all the roses, this time out of purple mauves. I did that off screen so you didn't have to sit through all of that again. After finishing one flower, I realised there was a mark at the bottom of the panel that I wanted to hide, so I ended up putting the flowers in 2 different spots. But I still think it looked pretty at the end. Trying to lift up the rose to poke in a little flower, not flower, leaf, silly. For the sentiment, I did use the same sentiment I used on the first card. This time I stamped it onto vellum. I did do this a few times, so it just didn't work. The first time I was all smudged when I stamped it, the second time I didn't let it dry and I smudged it. Third time I tried embossing and I burnt the vellum, so it was like 4 times lucky. I ended up putting some clear embossing over the stamp just to give it a nice shine to the sentiment. So just remember, when you're using vellum and a heat gun, be careful not to overheat it. And then I just trimmed down the vellum to match the card to slide in between the flowers. I just taped it at the back with some double-sided tape. Hold the vellum in place. And then I used dimensional tape to tape the panel onto the card. And it's all done. All done. So please, thank you for watching. Please like, share, subscribe.